as high as you can, high enough to see who you are, little man. Life sometimes is cold and cruel, maybe no one else will tell you, so remember that you are black gold, black gold. You are black gold. Now maybe no one else has ever told you so, but you're golden, baby, black gold with a diamond soul.
We started with some silence. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here. All, each and every one. All the yeses in the house. All the I am here in the house. I am that I am. I am Estella. And I am here to open this sacred space with a libation and an evocation. So in African American culture and African American history is a continuation of what we came from, the spirit, and we anchor that with acknowledging our ancestors. And in the larger realm, we honor the ancestors that just don't walk. We honor the ancestors in the sky kingdom, the moon and the stars, in the moons and the stars and the galaxies that guided us to where we are right here and right now. So in the African American tradition, we use water as a way to connect the one with the one as the one. We're more than 80% water. So when we pour the libation water to honor our ancestors, we call out the names of people, we call out the names of places, we call out the names of the elements that brought us forward, honoring the space that's being held right now. The space of the indigenous people of Spain, the Catalans, indigenous people. We honor where I am, the Tonga people. We honor the indigenous people on this earth who brought us and held us and hold us now. So as I pour this water, I pour this water in honor of our water spirits, the healing waters this time that brought us to where we are ashore. I honor the air. We honor the fire, the ashes that burn away, that allow healing to begin. We honor the earth, sacred land. Earth. That which we walk now, that which we are made as caretakers of. We honor the indigenous people of the earth, bringing forth all that we know. We honor our ancestral bodies, the spirits of the animals, of the fish. We honor the music, the vibration. And my sisters in this room, in this gathering today, and online, and my brothers online, we honor your ancestors, and please call them out. Carlene, Melissa, Dee.
I honor the spirit of George Johnson, who was my father and was the first man I ever loved.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Spirit of Lorraine Griffiths, my sister.
Christiana Placid, and George Alexis, Cynthia Alexis, grandparents. Ashe.
Ashe. We honor the fathers, all the fathers, all the mothers, all the sisters, all the brothers, all the grandparents, and our great grands and our greaters yet to be. Ancestrals are not just in the past, they are in the present. They are with us now. We honor the breath. We breathe for those who could not. We breathe on this side for those who are breathing for us on the other side. We honor those on this gathering in this sacred space, each and every one of you. All that you bring, holding the space for healing, holding the space for justice, holding the space for loving. So blessing this gathering, blessing the souls seen and unseen who have made this moment possible, blessing Queen Nzinga, blessing Sister Winnie, blessing Queen Hatshepsut and Queen Aretha, blessing my brothers Nelson and Martin and Malcolm.
Mhm.
Blessing the unnamed, blessing the unheard, blessing this beginning, knowing we will say what is needed, feel what is needed, that we are all blessed because of our yes. We're all blessed because of our willingness to expand and to heal, not just ourselves, but others. For this and so much more, I give thanks. And in the custom of my ancestors, I simply say, Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe. Good evening and welcome to each and every one of you who have blessed us with your presence, your time, the energetic and vibrational spirit that you bring. We acknowledge your presence and we are grateful for you. I am Carlene Griffiths Sekou, one of the curators of this space. This evening, it is through the healing justice area of Black Lives Matter grassroots and our team. And Raymond, we say thank you as well, and to the whole team, every single one who were so gracious in making this happen and helping us to be here today. This evening is the kickoff conversation, and it's really an invitation for us to collectively name and explore how Black people have created safety, how we have created care and flourishing, how our ancestors have bequeathed to us not just survival, but thriving and flourishing wisdom. That is why we are still here. And as well, we are here, and that is a powerful testament and a testimony to Black life, to Black genius, to Black imagination and Black power. So we start by not with deficit. We start by acknowledging our beauty. And in fact, as the song said, that we are Black gold. We start by acknowledging our strength and the dignity of Black people, of all Black people across the African diaspora, because we know that anti-Blackness is pervasive. Everywhere there is Black life. So this space is to ask questions. This space is to excavate and recall lineages, traditions, and knowledges, to invoke ways and imaginaries that honor Black people and affirm our infinite sacred worth and dignity. This is not to say, however, that we intend to do this for all Black peoples everywhere based on only what we know. We cannot. We only hold some and part of particular ways of being, thinking, knowing, and practicing. And so we acknowledge the multiplicity of cultures, traditions, and ways of being, knowing, and practicing. We acknowledge that we are expansive, and we are teachers and learners. We have a global transnational reach across borders, and thus this space serves as a portal for us and others to enter in and to teach and learn for all of our edification. We do this together for all of our liberation. In so doing, I'm convinced, we are convinced, that ultimately our imagination will be liberated to build, to create worlds anew from generations past, present, and for generations to come. So we also ask questions, how do we hold our people collectively in community? Psychically, spiritually, physically, materially, and politically in a time that is our generation. In this moment, it is catastrophic. But we have seen catastrophe before. We have seen many catastrophes, and yet we are still here. COVID-19 is catastrophic. Every day I know, I am told, not too far removed, that life is unnecessarily taken, preempted. But as Black people, we know all too well that white supremacy, colonization, imperialism, enslavement, the prison industrial complex, economic and cultural ravaging, and our erasure are also catastrophic and have been. So we do not want to pretend that we are not in need of healing. We are. And so a part of this conversation is to unpack the ways in which healing is our task in this moment, and to have a conversation about how we survive. But beyond that, how we hold each other and thrive. What does collective healing look like? Our task then is to reconnect. All of those interlocking forces are designed to dismember, to disconnect us from ourselves, disconnect us from those rich lineages and heritages, cultures and ways of being and ways of knowing that are a part of us, that have kept us. How do we remember? How do we reconnect? How do we hold ourselves in deep love, care, and honor, and in so doing, hold each other? And so we're excited to hold this space, healing justice, embodiment, practice, and building Black futures. And with that, I am happy to invite the rest of our team here, the rest of the panelists, my sisters along this journey, to introduce yourselves. And so I have the dubious task of picking one of you, so I'm happy to pick Melissa. Do you want to start us off?
Sure. Thank you, Sis Carlene, and welcome everybody. Warm, warm welcome. I'm on the land of the Nipmuc and Massachusetts people, and just very grateful to be here in a circle together to talk about healing. My name is Melissa Alexis. I'm the founder of Cultural Fabric, and just as we are creating today, what I do is hold these containers, these spaces, co-create containers for our healing and for our remembering, as you said, Sis Carlene, remembering the ways of our ancestors, remembering the ways that we have sustained and thrived, and bringing healing into the mainstream, you know, bringing spirit back into our conversation and integrating our mind, body, and spirit. So that is my call, and I feel very strongly what you said about the disconnection, the falsehood of our disconnection, our separation, both within and also among each other. And so working to always come back into that wholeness, into the sense of ourselves as whole. I'll stop there and I will kick it to Estella. Thank you for that beautiful invocation, Estella.
My joy. I love the wholeness. That's what that was about. The invocation was, there is no separation. We all touch somehow, somewhere each other. So I'm Estella, also known as Stella the Poet. I wrote a book called Truth Shots and Ida's Brew, a book of poetry, because my healing came through words. My healing comes through words. I have to be able to express myself. I am a creator of peace in the body. I do body work. I touch people. I am hopefully a facilitator of peace in the mind. I ask questions so that we can explore ourselves, because we know the truth when we hear it, especially from ourselves. I am a lover of people and a traveler. So I explore. places where Black people are to find out what the gifts are that they brought to that place. So I actually include Tibetan bowls in my body work. I went to Bali and I had bowls played on my body. So healing comes so many different ways in so many different places. So thank you. And I pass. Dee?
Thank you. Thank you, Estella and Melissa and Carlene. It is so wonderful to share this space with all of you, because it is so necessary for us, especially in this particular time, to talk about healing. My name is Day Bryant, and I am a psychologist and the director of the Social Action Project. And our work has always been looking at how we can bridge intellect and spirit, and how do we do that in a way that allows us to put words on what it is people are experiencing, and take those words and not lose that feeling, even as we are talking with people who write curricula and create policy and are involved with those machinations that have such an impact on our communities and on as individuals. And always using the arts as the way to do that, whether it's poetry, my sister Estella, or visual arts or painting or puppetry or theater. It depends on who it is we're working with and what the issues are that they would like for us to work with them to address. And we choose a medium that allows us to do that. And being able to then take all of that, dig deep enough to be able to find that center core and that emotion and put words on it. So then we can talk about what do we need? What do we need to move beyond this point where we're at that's causing us such pain? So I am looking forward to the work that we'll be doing together over the next little while. And then I'll pass it back to Carlene. We can't hear you. Uh-oh. Nope.
Well, we're trying to get that together. I just want to acknowledge some people in the house, so to speak, on chat. As Carlene, can you hear us? Okay, but we just can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay. So while she's doing that, I just want to pull up some chats. I see New York, I see West Virginia, I see the honoring of Indigenous people, the Potawatomi.
Potawatomi.
Thank you very much. Okay. I see Charlottesville, Virginia in the house, honoring African ancestors, Cherokee and Chinese descent. Love that. People are feeling open and engaged, like the color orange. It's my favorite color. Feeling I'm here learning to be how to support the healing of Black people. Here in humility, to hear and to listen and learn. Came here for wisdom. You brought wisdom by showing up. Many shades, feeling many shades of Black and brown. Grateful to be here with you. Grateful Southgate, Tongaland. Okay. So, Carlene, I see you're muted. Your mic is mute. You want to take your mic off? Okay. You ready? Okay. There you go.
No, we're
I
almost there.
see Candy.
Moment.
Was that Candy in Culver City? Who else we got going on here? Ooh, I can't pronounce this. From Lizhan Olan territory, the Hichin. I'm seeing places I've never seen, heard of, loving it.
That is awesome.
Connecticut, New York, East Coast is clearly here. So we thank you. We thank you, those who are feeling yellow and brown and orange and black, those who are bringing into this healing space that love from those colors. Someone wants to know, what do the colors represent? Day, you want to talk about that a little bit?
I can, yes. One of the ways we communicate, no matter what our culture or what our generation, is using colors. And colors can tell entire stories just in their shade, in their shading or their position. And so we are asking you to ascribe a color to what you're feeling as you're here, so that we can have that whole tapestry for us to be able to refer to as we're going through the course of the evening. So color is what color means for you in your moment, in this moment right here.
Color is also a representation of visual
Visual energy. Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
that's so true. Okay. So as we get Carlene's together, she's going to deep cobalt blue. Carlene is going to come out, go out, and come back.
Come back.
So while
Okay.
Mhm.
we're doing that, I know we're going to get into a much deeper conversation, but I'm just curious about healing. What do you do to recenter? What do you do to ground? Thank you, Aisha, being green teal. I see purple and Veronica.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
grounding. Sounds like some colors are grounding for some of you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, can y'all hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you're back.
I am back.
You are back.
Yes.
Wonderful.
It is so good to be back.
Yeah.
It's good to be heard. Ooh,
Nature is
wonderful. That was
grounding.
just, that was
People were sharing what was grounding for them.
Yes.
Colors and healing and nature,
Prayers.
water. Yes.
Oh yes, the
Mhm.
ocean is very grounding for me.
Oh,
All right, I heal when I sit still, breathe in the silence, and watch nature around me. Oh, that feels
Mhm.
yummy. That
Mhm.
feels yummy.
Amber's feeling the color blue and sitting in the sunlight. All right.
Wonderful. Oh, and I love music. The sonicscape
Mhm.
is very nourishing to me. Mother Earth and being near a lake, river, etc. Oh, thank you all for being so engaged and active and feeding us as well. You're feeding my
Yes.
spirit, especially after not being able to be heard for so long. Center and ground, I breathe deeply and see how much attention I can pay to each of the things around me and savor the emotions that are pouring through me. Oh, yeah.
Yes, there is a lot of wisdom in this room.
Wonderful. There is a lot of wisdom.
Love it. Kayaking. I love it.
Love this.
Oh,
I
that's
feel like
free.
we could try each of these, all of us.
I
just
know,
do
right?
that, take some notes.
Just make a little catalog and work your way down.
Yes.
We could. This is
Dancing. Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, let's hear it for the dancers.
oh, standing or dancing bare feet. Yes. Yes. So, we are dealing with the concept, the idea. This has been in our ether now for several years, right? Healing justice. What is it? I think of the Black Panther Party was very attentive and intentional about everyone in their formation, being cared for, right? Being attended to. And so while the term is much more recent, coined by Cara Page, as such, right? A framework or the language that we are, the terminology, the term healing justice that we use in mainstream is attributed most often to Cara Page. I'm wondering from each of you, right? What does healing justice mean? You know, again, now I'm thinking of the ancestors. This energetic vibration is with me. Audre Lorde said, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. You know, and Black feminists have reminded us that self-care is a radical act, right? And for those whose very livelihood, who had meant that we had to negotiate, we have had to negotiate compounded, intractable violences upon violence, right? Against our race, our class, our identity, abilities across geographies, right? Violent systems, right? And so healing, self-care, healing justice, what is that? What is healing justice in particular? And we will wrestle with that. We'll start off by sharing our perspective about what healing justice is. And if you all have thoughts about it, feel free to drop that in the chat as well. We are in conversation with you. But Day, tell us, what is healing justice? What does that mean to you?
For me, when we're talking about those two terms, and you're right, they've been around for a long time. The whole concept of healing and thinking of it as something that is a human right. It's not indulgence. It's not being uncommitted. It should be a priority, and it should be something that we are encouraged to invest time and energy in, and making it central to how we function. And I think of healing as something that is a process that begins with the decision to center yourself in all of the things that all the activities and the work that's working and swirling around us in the tapestries of our lives. And then taking the space to keep plowing and planting and increasing, so that we can delve into all of the dimensions and complexities that we are as individuals, and that therefore allows us to create that complexity and those nuances in our communities where we function, not just neighborhoods, but also within our own social circles and the people that we influence. And the notion that is a right that we have. That's how we express who we are, and we grow who we could become. And it is something that has been bit by bit chipped away by the pace of modern life, by the demands of being parent, employee, the person that people turn to all the time when there's an issue or a question. And we as Black people here in this country have had stripped away all of the things that are a part, so many of the things that are a part of what gives us that space, those cultural practices and those rituals and the things that we saw happening with our grandparents and maybe still our parents. Those things, we've clung to a few of them, a precious few, and those can be healing, and we can talk about them. We talk about family reunions, and we talk about those those moments that we take to be with our loved ones. There were so many of those, but there are so many of those rituals and practices that have been lost, that we can, especially in the arts, dance and music and poetry and literature, reclaiming those things, I think of as also a part of healing justice.
Today. I was just reading the chat. Stella or Melissa, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So what comes to mind for healing and justice? I see together, I see them separate. I see the comments that I just saw a comment that was really important to make note of. Healing to me is an inside job. Cures come and go. Healing is something that stays with you. Healing is available at any time about anything at any moment. Healing is truth. It may not necessarily feel good, but healing is body, mind, and spirit. You can't, it's disconnected if you think it's only one aspect of your beingness. Healing is a way of thinking first. Manifestations are the results of the consciousness. Healing, and we were talking, I mentioned this when we were in our group before this started. Healing to me at this point is to stop the bleeding, to stop the self-inflicted pain, to understand simple things like, as I was sharing, the missionary position came from the missionaries who were conquerors and rapists, and that's all we know. Healing is knowing about the slave ship Jesus in 1564 and its crusade. Healing is opening eyes and becoming aware that self-definition is an inside job. Healing is decolonizing the mind, no matter where you are. Justice is balance to me. Justice is equity to me. Justice is, as someone said, restorative. So healing justice is something that is collectively what we do in this setting. We talk, we listen, we communicate in community. That no one can ever take away from us. We know how to heal. We just forgot.
Ashe. I came to healing justice without even understanding what that term meant. So I like that because in retrospect, it shows me that the ancestors put me on the path to healing justice. It wasn't something that I consciously, started walking the path of. And it started when I, as a Black young woman growing up in a predominantly white town, started dancing, went to college and started dancing West African dance from Guinea and from Senegal and from Mali. And I felt home in my body. I felt this return. And so when we talk about remembering, to me, it's an embodied remembering of rhythm, of vibration, of my original heartbeat, of the original frequency of my nervous system that comes through all of these tools that we've been given in the drum, and in sound and in our body that can make these movements. it is also this repatriation of an integration of the body and the brain. So the brain sits in the body and is in service of the body. You know, the body is the temple or the house, not the other way around. You know, we're not in service of the brain, but yet we've been conditioned to think that we're in service of the brain, that is what is the highest of our intelligence. And the highest of our intelligence is actually an integrated mind, body, and spirit that has all of our faculties integrated, because our body has its own innate intelligence. And so this disconnection from the head to the body, it does us a big disservice. So part of healing justice, as we talk about, you know, right access and broad access to our ancestral traditions and our adopted ancestral traditions. You know, I'm a dancer, I'm also a yoga teacher, and mindfulness and meditation, all of those are my adopted traditions. But that repatriates myself back to my body and gives me the opportunity to integrate. You know, that has been my journey, has been to integrate my mind back with the body, and then to realize how it's all encased by spirit. It's not separate. We're not separate from spirit. Spirit is surrounding everything and infused in everything. So it's my awareness of, and even being able to bring that back, you know, into my felt sense of myself is healing justice in a, you know, land that, if you learn mindfulness these days, one of the most popular forms of mindfulness has secularized mindfulness, taken it out of its spiritual grounding, which to me takes us out of, you know, the spirit, which is this component of who we are. So all of these ways of bringing ourselves back, you know, bringing ourselves back to the truth of who we are, to, you know, I can say coming back to wholeness, but we're already whole. The challenge is that we haven't felt ourselves as whole. We haven't, as Carlene said, we have been erased. There's been erasure, and then willfully part of that pain that I feel that as you mentioned, Estella, about the self-infliction, is that we continue.
Oh no.
Rose.
Frozen. Can you hear us, Melissa?
Melissa, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
She'll probably have to go out and come back.
She might have to.
Yeah. But we have a lot of really wonderful comments in the chat. As
Yes,
well.
I've been watching the comments. These are amazing. This is awesome. Thank you
If
all.
anyone- And if anyone would like to, I've typed in the
Everything.
chat. If you'd like to make your comment on camera, please indicate that in the chat. We're happy to do that. Says true justice must always be healing to the body, mind, and spirit. Justice must be healing both to the injured and to the one who has injured. Yeah, that is both restored, that is a gesture towards restorative justice. Right? As Estella said earlier, we are in fact connected, right? Whether one is disconnected from one's highest and truest self, or from community, right? We are still connected. But that process, we live in a system that tends to be punitive, right? Systems create capitalism, imperialism, militarism, right? We know the ranks create hierarchies of human.
Like hierarchies, yes.
Hierarchies of human, and some are
Yes.
more valuable than others, and some are disposable, some are unnecessary, right? Some become collateral damage. That is one of my least favorite terms when it comes to the destruction of our environment, the destruction of our ecosystem and the destruction of humans. But that if in fact we are all interconnected, then there is no hierarchy. There is no hierarchy of the human, right? And I think some people struggle with that because we've been taught to accumulate things or earn things, right? That then define our worth,
Yes.
right? Not just money, our net worth, but these
Your personal word.
symbols behind our names, the zip code where we live,
Yes.
the nation state in which we live,
Yes.
right?
And
Our
we're taught
language,
to,
linguistic, right? I'll let you jump in. Go right ahead. I was just saying
We are-
linguistic hierarchy. Right?
we're taught to divide into boxes. We especially here here in the West, here in the US, we're given boxes and we're supposed to check off these boxes to tell to identify us and to identify us to ourselves and to people out there. And it creates we create these hierarchies, and they are artificial boundaries that get created, and we lose track of being able to connect in any other ways. And we check off those boxes, and people want to know what box you fit in. Sometimes even before they will remember your name, they want to know what box do you fit in. Oh,
and welcome back, Melissa.
Yes,
So good to have you back.
good to have you
Say
back.
a word so we can.
Thank you.
Like, oh no, Melissa, where'd you go? Although we did enjoy the beautiful smile that you had while you were frozen there on the screen.
Yeah, and you know that you said something really important about these boxes, and I want to clarify that to throw off yokes, be it somebody's boot on my neck or if you're standing on my back, to throw you off, to dismantle and disrupt is my dignified right, to possess the healing that belongs to me, to possess the liberty that belongs to me. Let's be very clear. We are in movement space, right? And we are of a tradition and a legacy of resistors. Our ancestors have always known, right? What is our rightful place? And we know that, as Melissa aptly pointed out, it's a part of who we are, right? We already know this. And so we don't say Black Lives Matter, right? To ask permission. It's an affirmation. It's an enunciation.
Yes.
Because apparently a lot of people don't understand this, right? But we know this. And so by every means necessary to stand in that place of liberty and full dignity and flourishing. And hopefully that once we win and once systems are dismantled and we abolish systems that kill, steal, and destroy, then folks can turn. That is always a choice, right? That is always a choice to recognize their own and freedom and worth. And we're here for all that, right? I'll stop talking. Melissa, if you want to jump back in, feel free. We were answering what is healing justice, but I think right now we're talking about why is it important? Why is healing justice
There's
important?
a question here that Colton Ahmad asked. You can't heal without having justice. Healing only begins once security is once you secure fairness. Do you think that's true?
If
Who
I
wants to
could
jump
jump in
in?
here.
I was talking for a minute. I just got through talking, so I won't. Go ahead.
I would like to point out that that puts the power of healing in somebody else's hands, because we are struggling, we are fighting, we are bringing about fairness. But it is a struggle, and it is in process. And healing is something that can't wait for us to get to justice. It is a right that we have, and that we have to decide that we will take in this moment, and that will feed our ability to continue struggling and engaging and bringing about justice. But we can't wait until we get there to do
I'm not sure if there's ever a there.
right,
personally.
right.
I'm not sure if there's ever a there. But
Right.
my thought, one of my thoughts, because I appreciate the question. One of my thoughts is that part of my healing is to fight for justice.
Right.
Part of my healing is to speak the truth about the struggle and about the need to heal. Part of my healing is to say I'm injured, you know?
Yes,
Part of my
absolutely.
healing is
Yes.
to know that I can do it with or without anything or anybody. I love enslaved people who always knew they were free. That's healing. So I just wanted to explore that question, because I appreciate the question in the chat. I really
No,
do.
it's an important one for us to really direct us back to, as Day is saying, you know, where the power is when we talk about healing. And back to what you said at the beginning, Estella, that healing is our journey. We have to, I firmly believe we have to bring ourselves to our own healing. And so there's a concept in yoga that I talk about and think about and feel very strongly around equanimity, which is a sense of, you know, you're being able to develop this sense of peace, even amidst you know, the turmoil, you know, amidst everything that's going on externally. And then right now, I'm really elevating that to energy sovereignty, that we have to be so sovereign in our energy, you know, that we can't, and this is also my answer to the why of healing justice. Because if we have the access that we need, if we allow ourselves to practice in the way that we can, which is to say, regardless of going to a class, not going to a class, you can be right where you are and be in ritual, be in ceremony, be in discovery with yourself around practice and around ancestral healing. And so if we allow ourselves to do this, we can develop and really understand from where comes this energy sovereignty. You know, as you invoked the name of the Maroons earlier, Carlene, and, you know, just thinking about this idea of freedom and liberation, when, you know, a lot of us saw the film about our sister going to freedom. Our sister's looking for that place of emancipation. We're not looking back for the place that bound us. We're looking for the place of emancipation. And that is, you know, something that we really have to put our attention on in a deliberate, intentional, focused way. And it's important because then we can develop that energy sovereignty. We can develop this practice that has our focus on our embodied ways of knowing what's true and our embodied ways of understanding all the intelligence and the faculties that we actually have access to, which is way beyond, you know, what we're conditioned into. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm of two minds here. I firmly believe in the sovereignty, the self-sovereignty, and it is about what you know, right? And I think it's important to remember that the systems, the structures, let's say we're talking about, you know, liberating ourselves from these systems and these structures, the question of fairness, right? Either way, we have control over our response, right? But I think we have to tell the truth about being wounded. We have to tell the truth about the injury. That is the beginning of our healing, right? We've been taught to pretend that we don't know what we know. We don't know that it's shady, it's unjust, it's unfair, it's evil. We've been taught that. So I often notice how when when violence happens to us, particularly collectively, we're expected to rush to forgiveness. Or rushed or receive it in a particular dignified, quote unquote. And we are not allowed to be fully human and express the pain, the rage, the anger, the impact of it. We're taught to deny our very humanity, our very divinity, in my mind. Is to lament, is to rage, is to cry and say, I've been hurt, I'm wounded, right? In that, I think there's great power, right? And that begins our healing journey, and that is to speak the truth about our condition. It isn't the last word. It doesn't mean we have to stay there. Our response is entirely in our hands.
Yes.
And I say that individually, but I also say it knowing that we are so powerful. We're here because of the power of our collective community to decide to heal, to choose healing, right?
And to do so in ways that that speak to all the members of our circle or our community. And we can see that, we can see it in music, we can see it in dance, we see it in literature. We find those mechanisms that have survived over these generations that we still use. Maybe it's not, maybe it hasn't entered the mainstream in terms of publication or in terms of Emmys or any of those other things that we've been told are more valuable, but we know the stories. We've heard them from people who are important to us and from people who we encounter in the course of our living a life. Those are the ways that we are able to do exactly as you're saying, so that we are expressing that healing, that it's always there. It's been there. We aren't encouraged to do it, and we're told that we should just get over or move beyond or something, and we don't. We lose the muscles to be able to live there and work through it. That's what we're losing.
To have healing and to be whole and to flourish, to have integrity, right?
Yeah.
To have our integrity, which is wholeness, right, is our birthright.
That's our birthright. Yes.
It is our birthright. And there is no one prescription for a multiplicity of circumstances, yet we've been given so many rich resources. We've named them in nature, right? We've been given each other just to hold a space of presence and listening, a container, to listen, right? And to engage the healing practices, the connection in community, right? I know I heal from the next generation. My little boy, you know, he calls me into healing by virtue of being his full and free self.
Yes.
Right? And so there isn't, but we do know some things. I know Black joy is healing. You know, I know being in spaces of joy, of prayer, someone mentioned, nature is healing. Relational intimacy can be healing. And I mean that in the broadest sense, but in the most deep and profound sense of intimacy, right? Where intimacy, I know I used to be I preach, so y'all forgive me for that, but really to be able to be free and unapologetic about your full humanity, about what you're experiencing and going through, and trust that you can be held. Trust that whatever difficult and hard truths that you need to hear will be told in love, and in an investment in your thriving, in your flourishing, and your purpose. So y'all,
I
I'm
could just
looking at,
add to that.
yeah,
What happens when I taught parenting classes forever? And what happens when we suppress our pain and our fear? It's like a spring effect, and it gets built up,
Mhm.
and it turns into violence against self or violence against others.
Absolutely.
mm,
And
Yes.
so understanding those things that allow us to be free,
Mhm.
and I appreciate the statements in some of in the chats, because feeling safe and feeling secure allows you to be free.
yes.
And when it's taken away, we think that it has to be given to us, you know?
Mhm.
And I remember interviewing Geronimo Pratt in prison, and he talked about how the ants that came through the cracks were more free than he was, and they started bringing him food.
Mm,
But he started learning how to go to that place inside that allows you to travel
Mhm.
and allows you to really be free. And we all have that place. We all have that safe space that nobody can touch. It's getting comfortable with that. We had what, 18 months of silence. Can't go nowhere, no distractions are gone.
Yeah. Mhm.
And and it was hard, I'm sure, for some people, and I had I had a little bit of practice, because I didn't have electricity for 6 weeks, and I'd gone through a 10-day silent meditation retreat the year before. So but let me tell you, on my silent meditation, what drove me crazy was myself. I mean, really. I mean, I was arguing with myself. I had to come to some peace with myself. I wasn't talking, there was no excuse. There was no one to have a conversation with.
Mhm.
So there is that space, and finding that space, and sometimes disconnecting from everything other than what nature has brought to you can bring that forth.
Mhm.
And
yeah.
I've got my yogi people on here, that breath, that's that centering breath. And I think we're going to do a little bit, we're going to share some things with some people a little later, but yeah.
Yes, and I want to make sure that we leave time and space to get into some of the practice. I think holding the space, this container, this circle is in and of itself practice that invites us to be open, to be transparent, right? And to give offerings to each other. And I am feasting on a lot of the wonderful things that you all are saying, but also
It's amazing.
that our participants are contributing.
Mhm.
So what y'all feel for? You want to move down through the practice, or do we want to talk about? I think we've talked about some
I think
obstacles.
we have. Yes.
We have touched on, but is there anything burning that either of you wanted to share about that?
Can I just
For our
go to
panelists.
the chat? There's some things on the chat that I just want to say.
Oh, sure.
Raphael says, y'all are chatting up. Wait a minute.
That's awesome. Love that
Yeah.
participation.
Something violence needed reminds me about healing from abandonment, healing from the abandonment of ourselves, the way we have been abandoned by others, learning to find our own safety again.
Mhm.
I am so happy to have joined this panel. I feel better just seeing you all having a very stressful 4 weeks at my job in rural Wisconsin. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That's
Keisha,
healing
Glad
and
you could join us.
being
community.
here. We're
Yes.
so glad you're here.
Mhm.
Showing up.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, no, interrupt me. That was great. That is totally fine.
Mm.
Yeah, so I was wondering, if we wanted to, if there was any thing burning on your hearts about obstacles to healing, or if anyone of our participants. The question is, what are some of the obstacles you encounter, um, or you feel challenged by when you hear the words healing or thriving or justice? The question's in the chat, and we want to, with grace and velocity, move through because we want to offer some intentional practice with you.
I do want to contribute just one idea, which is when people hear healing sometimes, or even the word sovereignty, they think people might think that it means you have to go off in a corner by yourself and do your healing. And I just want to make the invitation again that to heal ourselves, we're in connection. You all already put so much of it into the circle of what we're in connection with each other, with the trees, with the animals, with the elements. And so this idea of sovereignty also is not alone, that we are healing together, that this is co-sovereignty and that when we're healing ourselves, we're also healing in community and healing the community, healing for our ancestors, healing for the future generations.
Ashe. Thank you for that, Melissa.
Mhm.
Movement work causes us to neglect ourselves. It says there is no time to heal. The work is too great. Day, I see your name all over this, but
Yes.
anyone can jump.
Yes.
Movement work causes us to neglect
It is so
ourselves.
true, yes. And we receive more reinforcement for continuing to struggle and to strive and to work, and we overlook how important it is to revive and rejuvenate and sometimes resuscitate. And it is hard because we are passionate and we are committed and we do want to be a part of bringing about justice. And so we overlook how tired we are, or how short-tempered we've become, or how we're losing our enthusiasm. And we don't get encouragement from those people who are so important to us. And they too will say, well, the world is gone crazy. How could you possibly pause? And yet that's exactly what we need to do. That's what burnout is. Burnout is that we don't stop. We push and we still believe, but we've got nothing left. And that's the kind of martyrdom mindset that we have to work our way through in order to be able to find safety and to do healing, and to accept that you don't have to go to a mountaintop to have moments to yourself, or moments with people that are just the joy of your heart. We need those moments, and we are not encouraged to take them, or to take too long with them. Like, okay, you can go away for a little while, but then there's somebody buzzing your buzzer before your plane lands, or before you've got a chance to turn off your phone or something. So yes, we have to, what is it, the example of when you're on a plane and it's going down and they say, put on your mask first and then try and help other people. It's the same concept. We have to pause and put our own needs first.
And I must step in to edify, I think, what is becoming more and more, to lift up what is becoming more and more integrated within our movements, right? That this consciousness is there, it's present, and this is the very reason why we're here.
We're here. Exactly.
That within our movements, we are learning, we're entering into new knowledges that the very systems that we're fighting against are also in us, right? They are with us, and so we have to be intentional about relinquishing some of those ways of being and integrating healing and creating healing. It's not something you go off and do by yourself. We create healing communities, right? And we talk about embodiment for a reason. But each of us individually, because we come from systems and lineages and families dynamics and ways of being that don't serve us well. And so when we bring all that together in community, we reproduce and recreate and reconstruct the very things that we're fighting
We're
against.
fighting against.
Right? And so,
Yes.
but to the great wisdom and care and genius and brilliance of my comrades and colleagues within movement, we're disrupting that. We are dismantling that, and we're learning how to embody and live into together as healing communities, right? Recognizing that every facet of our work to dismantle and abolish police and to dismantle and abolish the carceral state, that contributes to our healing, to upend every system that oppress us, that extracts from us, that doesn't give us permission to find our purpose, right? But to work for wages, right? We're saying no. We're not only resisting, we're saying no, and we're reimagining. And COVID has given us an opportunity to enact that, right? Mutual aid has been around for Black people for a long time, but it has become by necessity a praxis where we're actually creating cooperative economies in everyday ways, right? Quotidian, everyday ways, knowing who among us need food or need PPE or need to a ride to the doctor or what have you. So I just wanted to say that it is true. And nevertheless, we are moving in the direction that we need to go. All right. So where does that leave us at 8:13? I want to be mindful and this is so good. This is really wonderful. And I want to remind everyone, I think I failed to say this at the beginning, that this is a beginning conversation and we will be here every first Friday. Our next Healing Justice offering will be Friday, November 5th. And our hope is to be here on a regular basis to have these conversations, but also to engage in some praxis and build knowledge and offer varying modalities together. All right, so if I may invite us into a brief practice offering at this point. Does that feel okay with you all? That feel good? If you will be notified and you will be notified the same way you had access to this platform today. Someone asked, how do we sign up for the next one? We have to figure out how to sign people up more intentionally, but we want to make sure that we disseminate this offering as broadly as is safe to do so. All right. So who wants to? So Stella, I think you're up for holding us in spiritual breathing.
Yes, that was my original thought, but I decided that I'm doing something a little different, which I really love. Spiritual breathing, I'll just say, is recentering. The breath is an exploration of how many times do you breathe in a moment? How many breaths are there on the planet? How many things breathe? The breath is life itself. And so the spiritual breath is understanding how it can recenter us in times of stress. And it is And it can be done a variety of different ways, but it's just a basic inhale and a basic exhale. But I'm going to do this one a little bit different, because your inhale is going to be I. Your exhale is going to be am. You're going to take another full breath, and then you call into existence a quality that you are. So it would look like I am love. So the breath in between can be a silent I am, but the first I am is the activation of source energy. That's from which you come. And then another practice, which I really love, that I used to teach with my kids in juvenile hall, and that I continue to share, is learn how to sing your name, your first name. Hold your ears and get the hum. Only you know your right tune, your right tone, your right harmony. Your first name is what brought you into existence. It says, I am here. Singing your name is a vibratory frequency from which you enter, and it's what you answer to every day. Learn how to sing your first name. And don't think just because it's a one-syllable name like Anne, that your name has to sound like Anne. It can sound like Anne. Estella is Estella. Estella. I love my name. I've learned how this is really like Estella. I mean, I'm like all into it now. So it changes your calibration of your body. You do four renditions of your name in a row, you can feel your body just regroup and recalibrate. So those are my gifts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll piggyback on that with an offering to continue vibration of the Brahmarij breath or humming bee breath. So Estella already offered us this idea of closing the ears. So you close the ears. This is to break up stagnant energy in the body and to address any anxiety. You'll put the soft palate of your tongue up on the roof of your mouth and hold it there gently. And at the same time, you can block in the ears, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, you'll hum the length of the exhalation, press gently in. So I'll demonstrate once and then we can try 3 rounds together. So inhale deeply. Exhale, pressing in the cartilage gently. So let's try 3 times together. When you feel complete, release your hands back down to the thighs, palms facing up to receive energy. Notice how the body, mind, spirit feels, maybe closing the eyes or taking a soft gaze, whatever helps you feel safe. And the second offering I'll give is just for you to energetically remove, use your hands and body, removing anything that's hanging over your head and getting back into the heart space. So as your eyes are closed, however you do this, it's the right way. Just using the hands like they're rakes and removing any energy that's above the head. Just remove it to the side, remove it, pushing it to the periphery. Anything that is around the heart that is clogging the heart space in front of the heart, remove that. Down to your diaphragm, that place of your will, down to the belly, removing it to the side. You can use the hands to push. And then just notice the effects as you push that to the side and allow the mind to empty. And that doesn't mean that thoughts won't come. That's perfectly healthy for thoughts to continue. But maybe there's a bit more ease in the body mind, allowing yourself, and you can do that as many times as you need to push that energy away and to bring the energy back to your heart. Last offering, placing the hands over the heart, one on top of the other, however you like, turning the gaze inward and acknowledging that in these dark times, that it's important for us to bring some light. It can be just one match that we could strike in a dark room that would light our way. And so we're bringing into our sense in our visualization faculty, the sense of the light in the heart. And so bringing us back as we talked about this place behind the heart that nobody can touch. Breathing with that light as you take a breath in, picture that point of light in the center of the heart. As you breathe out, allow that light to go around the body, filling you with the light and really seeing where there's any heavy or stuck energy, allowing the light to penetrate those places. Take a breath in, expand. Exhale, allow the light to expand into the body and just beyond the body into your auric field. One more deep breath. And exhale. Opening the eyes as you're ready and allowing yourself to just feel whatever movement your body needs to make and give yourself that movement. So getting used to just guiding yourself wherever you are into movement and breath, noticing your body, noticing your physicality. Thank you.
That was beautiful. And as what I would like to offer is that having gone through these exercises that get us in touch with what's going on inside of us and what light is within us, and listen to what emerges, what floats into your consciousness and into your awareness, and start telling a story from that moment, whatever that image is or whatever that thought was, an uncensored, unedited story. Tell it if it's a long story, tell it if it's just a couple of words, articulate it so that we have the opportunity to hear ourselves say it, and to write it down. Have at hand a notepad or a Post-it note or your tablet to put that thought into being, put it on something and spend time with it, and peeling apart its layers. We have reached the point where we are making space for that to emerge, whatever that story is, and revel in that. Spend some time with that and keep a running journal of those moments so that in due course, then you have something that you can begin to see how the dots are connecting together, because we know what we want. We know what we need. We aren't always given the opportunity to express that in words that we could then take and do something with. So this is an opportunity for that. It can be as simple as the image that we got was our favorite car, the first car I ever had, and what was it, what freedom it gave to me, or what trepidation because I'd never signed anything with that many zeros after it, or whatever it was. Build on that by creating, write your story. No one ever has to see it if you don't want them to, but write it down so that you can look back over it, and you can do that and engage those truths that we all know. We just don't always take the time to put those words on it. And having created this wonderful freed up space is an opportunity to do that. And storytelling and journaling, complete with the technology, that's a way to go. That gives us the map, and it provides for us a direction.
Ashe. So beautiful. Thank you all. That was great. I just have one thing to add, and I want to remind all of us and our participants, not now, and if there isn't anything prohibitive medically why you ought not do this, then join me in committing to drinking water.
Ashe.
That is something I have to work hard at doing, is drinking enough water.
Yes, water.
Yes. Water is life, it is healing, it makes us who we are.
Documentary called the body's many cries for water. A man healed prisoners, over 3,000 of them I think in Iran, just on water. Water is sacred. So thank you for that reminder.
Yeah. And so we are coming to a close in our program, in our space tonight. And want to invite you again to look out for our next offering, which will be on November 5th. And we will certainly send that information out on how you can join us. Can y'all hear me okay? Yes? Okay. And we had another question to ponder, and we will take it with us and continue to think on it, but I will offer it here. What is the future of Black healing? And I would offer that we are. We are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We are grateful for everyone, all of the energies, the spirits, the lineages, the imaginations, the hopes, the dreams, past, present, and future, that held us tonight, this afternoon, wherever you are, in your own time zone.
Tonight, this evening, this afternoon, wherever
Thank
you are.
all. Deep gratitude and bow, and may you be well.
Please, all of
And
you.
and
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. May we have that music to remind us who we are, Raymond.
Yes. Thank everybody for your presence.
All chatters, all those who didn't chat.
about to get up out of this chair.
We should. We need to.
This is Ice-T.
Stone Cold Steve Austin and
Matty Ice.
I guess I gotta upgrade.
Oh, what a great
I
outro.
love it. Ice-T was with us.
Yes. And that is all
We'll
right.
edit- yeah, that'll be edited out.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
My goodness.
I like that playlist. That should become our like. What is it? What is it? There's a name for it. The music that's played each time an event.
Oh,
occurs.
our intro.
Song or-
Theme or anthem
Theme.
or
Theme or
Thank you.
anthem. I
Theme
like
song. It's a
that.
great playlist.
intro.
Yeah.
Empress says intro. We still got 25 people with us.
We still do.
Yeah, so this is sort of
Oh,
after hours.
This is what I call the afterglow. where we just-
Afterglow.
Can we put on Black Gold, Raymond?
Oh, yes.
Or something else?
Oh, yeah.
Convinced NFL
Oh.
teams to turn to cold water washing with Tide.
Or the commercials.
Black gold, if you can find it. If
Oh, yeah, I have it at this ad plan. Oh my
Oh
God.
my goodness.
There we go.
Oh,
Hold your head as high as you can, high enough to see who you are, little man. Life sometimes is cold and cruel, maybe no one else will tell you, so remember that you are black gold, black gold. You are black gold. Now maybe no one else has ever told you so, but you're golden, baby, black gold with a diamond soul. Think of all the strength you have in you, from the blood you carry within you. Ancient men, powerful men, builders of civilization. There'll be folks hell bent on putting you down. Don't get burned, don't get burned. No, not necessarily. Everyone will know your worth. No, no, no. All your worth. Think of all the strength you have in you, from the blood you carry within you. Ancient men, powerful men, builders of civilization. Think of the strength you have, think of the strength you have in you. Powerful, proud, and powerful men, builders of civilization. Hold your head as high as you can, high enough to see who you are, little man. For life sometimes is cold and cruel.
All right.
Okay,
Send love, everyone.
much love. Everyone be safe.
Yes, thank you. You as well. So much love and gratitude to each of you
Absolutely.
and to us together.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
An awesome launch.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
so
and thank you.
excited for what's to come.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
We had a fabulous conversation going. It was hard to, I had to remember, nope, I'm supposed to be, nope, I want to see this. Thank you, Melissa, for keeping an eye out on chat for us.
I
There's some
know,
great things
Master.
going on
Yes,
in chat.
beautiful.
And Estella,
Thank
look at you.
Empress and
Woo,
Teresa,
woo. Thank you so much for that.
Michelle and Michelle and Nina
Migration.
and Vicky.
Absolutely.
Oh, it feels like a big container, didn't it? I mean,
It
it was, you only
did.
saw this, but it
Yeah.
felt
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.